Alrighty, nutrition. Here comes the fun stuff. Just like the training chat you just watched, the first question you should be asking yourself when approaching your nutrition is what exactly is it I want to achieve? And this is because your goals will change the amount of energy you'll then need in your diet and the amount of nutrients you'll also need from your food and so on. Now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to take you through exactly what process I take when working with new clients. The example I'm going to use today is someone who is moderately overweight that wants to lose fat and feel confident and strong in their body again. They would like to build strength and look toned and strong once the weight is gone instead of gaunt and frail. Now, the way I'll work through this with clients is by solving the more complicated problems first, then working my way up to the smaller, less important things. So here it goes. First place I start is by getting that energy or caloric balance right. Side note, calories or kilojoules are just different units for energy. Same as dollars or pounds are just different units for currency. It's no different. So in this example, the client in question is wanting to lose a decent amount of weight, but more specifically, fat. And to do that, we need to get them into an energy or caloric deficit. Now, you may have gone down the rabbit hole in the past when trying to drop fat, and Google has led you to believe the reason you're failing is because of your hormones, your body type, your insulin resistance, whatever. Please let me assure you that your body has to abide by the same laws of thermodynamics as everyone else, and when the amount of energy your body is expending outweighs the amount you're getting when eating and drinking, you will lose weight, period. Feel free to message me if you have questions, but the main principle to weight loss is a caloric deficit and a high protein diet. Now, to help the client in question with achieving a caloric deficit, we're first going to need to know how much they're actually expending or burning in the first place. And once we know that, I'll then usually put them in a 20% energy deficit, which is usually industry standard. Side note, the amount of energy we burn is called TDEE, which stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure, and it's made up by calculating our height, age, weight, gender, and activity level. Side note, I know what many of you are already thinking when I mentioned 20% deficit being industry standard. Yes, bigger deficit means quicker weight loss, but it also means you may struggle to retain or build muscle, you'll be far hungrier, and statistically, the quicker you lose weight is also linked to the likelihood of putting the weight back on. So consider all these things before being a hero. So I've used their age, height, weight, activity level, all that stuff, and calculated that they're burning 2,050 calories per day. So with a 20% energy deficit, that means that eating 2,040 calories a day will result in them losing about 2 kilos a month, which equates to them being about 24 kilos lighter this time next year, which means we now have a solution for energy and we're ready to move on to the next most important factor, which is macronutrients. Macronutrients. As I mentioned just before, calories refer to energy. Well, macros refer to the kind of bigger nutrient blocks that make up that energy, which is mainly protein, fats, and carbs. I won't spend too much time here, but in a nutshell, protein are the building blocks of our body and play a part in pretty much anything that involves our body repairing itself, from muscle to bone to even fingernails. Shit's important. Also, protein is also the most satiating macro, which helps when losing weight, because being hungry generally makes losing weight fucking hard, right? Carbs are our body's primary energy source and get broken down and stored in our muscle, our liver, and even our brain. Carbs are fucking awesome, and I know many of you watching this probably have been told otherwise at some point, but the more carbs we eat, the better we usually perform. Fats are also fucking awesome because they allow our body to transport nutrients throughout our body and even play a part in hormone regulation. Once again, a lot of people like to demonize fat, but that's because they're dicks, so just forget them. Now, some of you are probably thinking at this point, well, hold up, JD. If fats and carbs aren't evil, who's the bad guy here? You are, in the nicest way possible. If you're struggling to lose weight, it's because you haven't successfully achieved and sustained a caloric deficit for long enough to see decent results. And although cutting an entire food group out of your diet may seem like an easier solution, it isn't going to be effective long term, because you'll eventually cave, and when you do, all that weight will come back with a vengeance. On that note though, we do need to be able to get enough of all these macronutrients without tipping above our calorie goals. For example, protein and carbs contain 4 calories per gram, so 20 grams of protein will be roughly 80 calories, and the same goes for carbs. Fats, however, contain 9 calories per gram, so 20 grams of fat will be 180 calories. I hope you're still following, because I'll now apply this math to our example client along with how I usually allocate macros. First place I'll start is by making sure they're getting enough protein. Studies show that the average person only needs 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. So if our example is 100 kilos, they'll only need 80 grams of protein per day. However, For people who are training in the gym or doing any form of strenuous sport or training, that requirement goes up to, 1.4 to 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight, which means our client will need roughly 140 to 160 grams of protein. Let's take the average and call it 150 to make it simple. 150 times 4 calories per gram means out of the 2,000 calories we've given this client, 600 of them will be used on protein. Now, if I'm honest, studies don't really show much difference when it comes to losing weight and gaining muscle when it comes to how much fat and carbs we should be having. So I usually just leave it up to my clients and find that they end up getting enough of both when left to their own devices. If I was working with an athlete, I would absolutely be controlling both of these things. But this program is just about helping everyday people get in better shape and learn how this shit works. So I'll just say this. For fats, you'll be wanting to allocate 20 to 30% of your calories to fat. So in this case, 30% would be 600 calories. And if I divide 600 by 9, that leaves me with 67 grams of fat per day. So at this point, I've used 600 calories on protein and 600 calories on fat, which means I've now got 800 calories to spend on carbs or 200 grams, which is bloody awesome. Side note, am I expecting you to do all this math by yourself? Fuck no. I'll be showing you a free app at the end of this vid that will do all of this for you, so don't stress. Side note, once again, I want to stress that this information is general advice and doesn't take into account your specific situation. I've got a client at the moment, for example, that has just had his gallbladder removed, which means 80 grams per day isn't even close to being achievable when it comes to fat. So if you're unsure, just check with your doctor or hit me up. Alrighty, so calories are sorted and we've also got some really clear goals in terms of what that macro should look like. The next step is now micronutrition, which refers to the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that make up our macros. See how we're kind of getting smaller and smaller? Before you swipe out though, I'm not going to take you through this one in too much depth. I'll just say that having a well-balanced diet while including all the main food groups and incorporating as much color into your diet is the best way to ensure we're getting all the micronutrients. Do we need to track iron or vitamin B12 daily? Fuck no. But if you're feeling sick, tired, or just off, go to your doctor, they'll test your bloods, and if there is a deficiency of some kind, then you can go from there in terms of fixing it. Next up on the priority nutrition pyramid, it's actually not a bad name. Next up is meal timing and frequency. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, when a client is hitting their calories, their protein's good, and they're eating a well-balanced diet, meal timing isn't something I often have to worry about. Don't make clients eat breakfast, and I don't restrict how often they should eat their meals either. The only thing I want you to consider in this area is, are you being proactive or reactive? If you're not someone who likes breakfast, that's fine. Eat at 10 a.m., whatever. But if you've just plain forgotten to pack lunch, you haven't eaten breakfast, it's now 1 p.m., you're tired, you're starving, and you're a prick to be around, that's a different story. Reason being is because when all this happens, you're far more likely to make a shit decision when it comes to food choices. And you'll probably screw your caloric goal that day, fall short on your protein goal as well, and you'll also get no nutrient quality either. So just keep that in mind. Last and certainly most least important is supplements. If after working with a client we get to this point and we are falling short on something like protein, for example, I'll consider a supplement. But let me just make this clear. Supplements are not magic. They do very, very little compared to a healthy diet. Fat burners don't fucking work. BCAA powders mostly just taste good if anything. And the only supplements I rarely prescribe my clients are protein powders and creatine and the odd fish oil. That's it. So now that you've listened to me waffle on about this hypothetical client and you've seen how I run things, let's talk about what you can do to track your calories. This is where MyFitnessPal comes in. MyFitnessPal is a free nutrition app that will help you track your calories and keep you accountable day to day. When you set the app up, it'll take you through some basic info and it'll even prescribe you with your calorie and macro targets I mentioned earlier. And at that point, it's just a matter of getting you to work and hitting the targets on a daily basis. On that note, because my app is also fucking amazing, you can even link your MyFitnessPal account to this app and I can support you along the way to stay on track, as well as helping you to troubleshoot things along the way, like struggling to hit your protein target, for example. I now want you to do the following if you're wanting to work on your nutrition goals moving forward. 1, consider your goals and what you want to achieve with your training and your weight goals. 2, calculate how much energy you need first, then assign your calories based on those goals we just mentioned. 3, once you've sorted your energy requirements, make sure you're getting enough protein, fats, and carbs to be successful. And 4, download the MyFitnessPal app and start playing around with it. Be proactive and not reactive. There's nothing stopping you from going to the next day and trying different foods and recipes until the calories and protein are where they need to be. Side note, I've got a bunch of recipe books you're more than welcome to use with hundreds of healthy meals at your disposal for 100% free. To access them, simply head on over to the vault located on my private Facebook group page, and they're all yours. I know I talk really fast, so if you have any questions about what I've just spoken about, just ask. If I've missed anything or you're unsure about something, please reach out and we can go through it together. It's literally what I'm here for. Go kick some ass and let me know if you need some help. Bye for now.